Hey y'all.
Hello.
I feel like I have a Benadryl glow.
That Benny glow. That Benny glow.
Popping dry pills like my name was Sasha earlier today.
Wait, did you take a Benadryl today?
I did. So we're gonna see what happens.
You're not gonna remember any of this tomorrow.
I was gonna take a gummy and I forgot.
Like a weed gummy or an allergy gummy?
Oh, a weed one.
Oh.
I wish there was allergies. Weed. What I need is a combo weed and allergy gummy. And that would change so many things about my life.
Damn.
That would be good. Weed scientists out there that might be listening, we've given you an idea.
You are just yes.
Right.
So how was y'all week? Sandra, you had like a trip. Please tell us about it.
Oh, it was so good. I went to Napa, and in true Bay Area resident form, I did not go wine tasting. Everyone was like, how much wine did you drink? And I was like, I had a glass of Vino Verde, but I'm pretty sure it came from Trader Joe's. Just because like I just feel like we're spoiled with wine. Like we can get good wine anytime. And I was like, I'm here for the pool. We went to Calistoga, and you know, everywhere has like hot mineral pools, and my place had like a heated pool and then a smaller, hotter pool, and then a hot tub.
Okay.
And I really I also went with like a bunch of parents who didn't bring their kids. So of course they were manic. They were like, oh my God. But also like everyone had like wagons in the back of their car. So we were able to like, and also had like hella snacks and we're very prepared. So we were able to like basically bring our own bar setup in the wagons to the pool every day and like set it up in the cabana. Like we were that group. When we were leaving, people were like, both guests and staff at the hotel alike were like, "Aw, you guys are leaving? You're so much fun." So that was great. And then I came back and I was like, oh my God, real life. Let me check out for the rest of the week. So
you're like, oh my God, Fauci has COVID. I gotta go.
Fauci has COVID, but I don't. Because I sure took 2 tests to confirm it because we're in a surge.
Yeah. Oof. I'm so glad you had like a good time. I feel like there is not enough of that. So I'm so glad you had like a relaxing time, a fun time. You were able to unplug. There are like things that happen on the internet. I was like, I'm not even gonna tell Sandra. Just in general, like the whole internet, like the entirety of the internet. I was like, no, you know what? Sandra just had the best week ever because they were unplugged.
I don't want to know. I came back and Javier was like, did you know about, are you caught up on what happened with Ezra Miller? And I was like, hell no. And I still don't know, and I don't want to know.
Ezra Miller is a menace. That's all you need to know.
That's all I need to know, and that was true last week, and it'll be true next week too.
I had such high hopes for them though, because I really liked Ezra in the Harry Potter series. I even liked Ezra in Batman as the Flash.
Oh,
so
that's not my reality. Well, you know, I'm a Flash TV watcher. They were in the
they were in the later Harry Potters.
Yeah, like the Fantastic Beasts ones, right?
Oh yeah, I haven't watched those. I was like I'm off the Harry Potter train personally.
Because J.K. Rowling won't shut up.
Every time I try to hop back on, I'm like, maybe oh, there she goes again. So I guess I'm on that Shadow and Bone train, the lesser known YA.
I watched that too.
Okay, because I've read all the books.
I read all the books except for the last. Oh my god!
Okay, I see a spinoff of brewing. Spinoff of brewing. Okay, finally, someone I can talk to about this.
I tried to watch like the first 2 episodes. I was like, this is great, and I just like fell asleep. It didn't help that like I was high the whole time. I'm gonna try again. Yeah, for me for the Flash, I'm a show fan.
Yes, me
so
too.
I was like, I don't see it. And so like Grant Gustin was like just like my baseline Barry Allen. So Ezra was just a little bit too different for me from Grant, which isn't fair to any actor, because it wasn't going to be Grant from the TV to the movie, but so I was not attached. But money is what money is, and DC keeps saying that they're not gonna scrap that project. So,
well, I'm interpreting it is that they're not going to scrap the current Flash that's coming, but
right.
I heard rumors that they are not going to interact with Ezra anymore. So I don't know how they're going to write it or retcon it or what. I don't know. But because I think some people were saying because they don't want to scrap it because all the work that went into it and the other people, though they could, there was a lot of memes about how people were just digitizing Grant's face into the movie.
Plus, I think Grant's done. I think if this would have happened like 5 years ago, Grant would like
he would have done it. Yeah.
He's like, listen, I'm about to get this CW money and then I'm gonna be gone. I'll see y'all later. So
my favorite part of all of that was when you almost called Ezra Esme because we're like, they are menaces. These two are menaces.
Ezra. It's a mess, but we also saw that they didn't scrap or they didn't take Oh Boy out of what was that, West Side Story. So there's already like precedent for having someone in the midst of like PR disaster still being made in a main movie. And he was like Tony, and they just like didn't do any promo with him.
Listen, if Donald Trump could still win an election after the grab him by the what, we can do anything and not have to refilm.
All right.
Can we? Well,
I know exactly.
I saw a movie this weekend.
Tell us.
Another kind of problematic white guy, but not really. He's just a little weird. I saw Top Gun.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was born, I guess.
Yeah.
It was actually
HBO Max. I probably would watch it if it was on HBO Max.
No. So you see, I kind of grew up on Top Gun. It was an updated corny, but it was still 80. It was still felt very 80s, even though it was current. And it was really, I enjoyed it.
That's my genre.
Yeah, I would watch it. Right. Anytime Top Gun was on TNT, I was all over that.
Right.
Goose, R.I.P. Pour one out for Goose, always. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say Iceman was in it, but I'm not gonna say much more because it would be kind of spoilerish. But it was actually pretty good.
I've heard good things all over the internet. Sandra, you missed the internet for a week, so you probably did not see those good things. What a blessing.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
I didn't see Jurassic Park, and I've heard bad things, and Home Dude is bad. So that one's definitely not even a net. Well, I guess I'm paying for Netflix already, but
I don't even understand what is still happening with these dinosaurs that they're still making movies. That felt like a one and done to me, to be honest with you.
Like Tracey was not on board for even Jurassic Park 2. She was like, why are we still doing this with the dinosaurs? Haven't we learned? No. And the
And
answer
the
is
answer,
never. It's actually this is a documentary.
It is. It's a living documentary of
that was like we watched Don't Look Up. I was like, I'm uncomfortable.
And I was like, why are you making me watch this?
okay.
Like,
Here's one thing that made me uncomfortable with Top Gun. That man insists on riding his motorcycle without a helmet. I'm just like, I'm concerned every time. I was just like, dude, you're going so fast and you ain't got no helmet. I know why, because visually it's just not as cool with having his hair being whipped back and you can see his face and how excited he is about being on a motorcycle. But it's so dangerous. It's such a dangerous message to put out there. As a person that's only going 20 miles per hour on my electric bike, I was just like freaking out every time he got on that motorcycle and he didn't have a helmet.
I get it.
Safety is important.
It is.
Well, we have talked thoroughly about other
Everything
things,
but General.
And that's all we've got today, folks. We'll see you next week.
It's because this hospital show that we're watching is not good. So anyway, are y'all ready for a recap of what we've already watched?
Yeah, because I've already forgotten and I saw an episode today.
I did too, and I still don't even remember what happened. It was forgettable. Here we are. Let me take a little sip of water from my Corinthos coffee mug, soon to be Corinthos Quarter Main coffee.
Ew.
So here we are. Drew and Michael talk about the increase to ELQ's worth and find out that Carly bought a large amount of shares in the company. Michael was annoyed that his mom took the risk, even though he told her not to, but eventually comes around and toasts with Carly and Drew. Michael and Drew spot Lucy and try to bring her into the ELQ Aurora merger with what they could do for deception. Little do they know that Valentine and Martin are discussing ELQ as well, and with Lucy and Martin being very besotted with each other. Besotted is a word I got from Bridgerton, by the way. She continues to play her role as a wild card. Valentine tells Martin that ELQ was his salvation after Nicholas and Ava took Windermere from him and wasn't giving it up, which is a little point of view from Valentine that we hadn't got before about why ELQ was important to him. Jordan and Sunny run into each other at the Metro Court bar and talk about Michael and TJ. Jordan encourages Sunny not to give up on Michael, which, whatever. Carly appears and asks if there's any new leads on Trina's case, the question that we all want answered, and Jordan has none. Carly and Sunny have another pointless conversation, which leads them right back to the same spot, but it sends them towards other people. Sunny to his boo Nina, and Carly to potential boo Drew. Both of those pairings share moments, which we may or may not talk about later. Spencer and Laura talk at Kelly's. Spencer tells Laura that he's staying at Windermere and getting limited access to his trust fund from Ava. Limited access is $10K a week, but he confirms to Laura that some things, aka an unspoken Trina, are more important than money. And Laura reminded Spencer that he chose Esme over his friends. Laura also sparks in Spencer to look into Esme's past. So we'll see what happens there. At Windermere, bum-ass Nicholas tells Ava he wants a divorce and to remarry, to have a clean slate. At General Hospital, Mac and Felicia run into Ryan. Esme sneaks into a hospital room and tells Ryan that she slept with Nicholas. Ryan is very excited, but when he finds out that Ava and Nicholas are still married, he gets upset, but Esme tells him there's a bigger plan. Felicia enters the room and gives Esme a rundown on Ryan's history and warns her that Ryan will kill her when she's no longer useful. Here's hoping. Trina decides to take her future into her own hands, and she and Joss meet with a distracted Spinelli. He tells him that the phone used to film Joss and Cam was stolen and technically does not exist. He lets slip that there's a dive bar that sells burner phones, but warns them against going there themselves. Cut to the very next shot of Josh and Trina at the dive bar with their fake IDs. The bouncer makes a very bizarre dimpled Chad reference to determine that our girls are underage, but Trina talks her way in. They discover that Esme has been there, but someone recognizes them from the sex tape scandal, and a bar fight breaks out. Rory, aka that guy, aka my favorite Twitter name for him, which is Soda Pop Cop, aka the only police officer in town, shows up and Trina spills everything to him right after Josh asks him to take her instead. Bestie behavior. Anyway, Rory lets them go, and Trina gives him a clue to follow up on. Oh, Trina, you and these police officers. All of this is kids minus Liz are in the woods with Finn and Gregory. Cam is worried about Trina, and Gregory talks him through the Title IX investigation, the most helpful Gregory's ever been and will ever be. They sing a song by the campfire, and now the boys have a new stepdad their mom just broke up with. So, yay, romance. Austin and Maxie are also somehow there, and we end the week with Austin telling a mysterious figure to stay away from Maxie and her family. Chase and BLQ go out and run into Link. He is being his normal creepy self. And when Chase has had enough, he punches him, leading him to another arrest by, you guessed it, the only cop in town, Rory. At the Savoy, Miss Wu is having another poker night. The newest Dex, aka Cody, shows up and wins big. Selena Wu has a history with him, and she is not having it, so she has him beat up by her handsome goons. Britt comes across him, of course, beaten and bruised, and decides to help him because of that darn Hippocratic oath. He refuses to go to the hospital because he can't afford it, but tells Britt he knows someone who owes him. My guess, Dante. Finally, Vanna on a date. They're at a drive-in, seeing the classic film Notorious, just looking radiant Anna is, and Valentine cannot help notice. They banter like we love, and then Anna gets a message from work. When Valentine tries to ask her about it, she told him she can't talk about it with a civilian. I loved it. He kept pressing, and Anna questioned if he bought her out just to get info out of her. And that is the week, y'all. Tell me, how did you feel about the week? What were your favorite moments?
The week was bad. Yeah. It wasn't as bad as some weeks. It was certainly worse than others. It was bad. There were moments that I loved, thankfully. So, I want to lift up those moments and then probably continue to say the same things that I always say about the show every week, because they're kind of always the same bad things. So I would say my favorite moment was very easy.
I knew it would be.
I wonder what it could be. Vanna, what else could it be? They were so good. So here's the thing about Vanna. What is more classic Vanna than them at a drive-in watching a classic movie about love and intrigue? I loved it. I loved the movie parallels, of course, and now I'm like, let me go stream Notorious. Which, to get me to voluntarily stream a Hitchcock movie is groundbreaking, quite honestly. But I loved the way that the movie soundtrack became the soundtrack of their scenes. I thought that was so cool. It felt like cinematic and epic, all while it's like just them just sitting in a car talking. But because JPS and Finola are JPS and Finola, there was still so much movement and like texture and like all that goodness, humor, romance, sexual tension, intrigue, just sitting there in a parked car. I loved Valentine's, like the whole bit about Valentine's concession choices, the caviar, the Japanese umami popcorn. It was like so very Valentine. And I loved how completely unimpressed Anna is, because she's a fake butter kind of gal. And like just that dynamic between them where he's like so romantic and she sees it and is like, and let me poke a little hole in that. And how that challenge also, like, he is both like kind of vulnerable and disappointed, but also like, oh, and this is why I love Anna. And same. But the civilian bit was like chef's kiss, cream of the crop. She could not have cut him any deeper if she had told him, you know, I don't like mustaches. So yeah, Fidela and James just worked the hell out of those scenes so skillfully and subtly. It was, as they say, classic soap.
Ooh, they do say that. Um, the Vanna date, amazing. I don't really have much to add from what you said, except for like it just makes me even more excited to see them in October because we're going to Connecticut, right for us. But like, whew, that's gonna be a time. But they are just so good. You know, they give them so little. I think this like is going into like what's not working a little bit, but they could have cut out all of Sona, all of Crew, and just given us all that Vanna time. And that really is like these two make so much of the very short time they're given, and we just want more. And there's actually no amount of time that you can give them that would still not make us want more of them because they're that good together. There's a little bit of me that wishes that Valentine wasn't in this ELQ story so that we can get him all in like a Vanna story and like a spy man situation. But you know, my favorite moment was Jocelyn Trina. Um, I loved it. I'm like, Trina, baby girl, you can't do crime. Please, please. Just when Rory showed up and she was like, which ID do you want? My real one or my fake one?
Honey.
Trina. But it was so good. Like the facial expressions of Eden and Tatiana, like you just completely buy the two of them as besties. The chemistry between them, so good, so funny, such like even in a moment of being serious, like so delightful to see them. Those two ladies just really know what they're doing, and it translates so well. And it's such a breath of fresh air when so many other things are not good. Like they would be good if the rest of the show was good, but to stick them beside the rest of the show, it's just on another level. So that was my favorite.
Yeah, I think you both spoke to the scenes that I liked as well. I would add another scene for me, which is pretty standout, even though I'm still a little not sure about what's going to happen, is the scene between Felicia, Ryan, and Esme. I you know, people are kind of freaking out about the idea that Felicia may or may not be Esme's mom and not necessarily wanting to see Esme redeemed at all. But I think that I like the scene because, you know, Christina Wagner and John Lindstrom and Avery Pohl were fantastic. I mean, the eye acting of John Lindstrom with Ryan and Felicia was very intriguing because, I mean, Felicia seemed to be reading Ryan really well. At the same time, I wanted him to speak. And thank you, Tracey, for sending the interview that John Lindstrom had with Soap Opera Digest, because it really talked a lot about, you know, what he's doing around his acting and how he said he's going to miss the eye acting, but he also feels like Ryan has a lot to say. And so can't wait for him to be able to begin speaking. And so, but I thought, those scenes really demonstrated that as well. And then, Avery Pohl with Esme, I mean, she was really trying to assert her importance and her authority over Felicia, trying to make Felicia kind of a non-entity, asking like, who are you and why are you in this room? I'm somebody, I am his, assistant or whatever. And, she was, Felicia was just like, okay, and who are you? At the same time. And it was just really interesting trying to, see them kind of deduce what part they both play in Ryan's life, which was fascinating because Felicia obviously doesn't want to play any kind of part in Ryan's life, but here they are. They're kind of almost competing with each other, Esme and Felicia, which I found fascinating. And then Esme herself ends up learning something from Felicia, learning that, Ryan may end up killing me at the end of the day because he sure does end up killing folks who are not important to him anymore. And so she was just like, wait a minute, maybe I need to take a step back from this man who's really, crazy, but she can't help herself. She's just as drawn into him as all of his victims. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But I felt like it was very well acted, which is funny because I was telling, you both that I was, well, maybe I was telling Tracey, but I was struggling trying to figure out who would be my performances.
Something right before you hop into that, do y'all think that Esme really didn't know? Because that felt really not realistic to me that Esme like wouldn't know who Felicia was and wouldn't know Ryan's history. Like it's public.
Yeah,
it is public.
Right, it should be public. And it almost felt like interesting that she kind of didn't know or anything, or interesting to me, like even if she did do the research, it seemed interesting that Ryan didn't talk to her about Felicia. Like I do recall in the conversations he said he's been disappointed by a lot of women and he's thinking about Felicia, but I don't think he ever actually says who he's talking about to Esme. So maybe she's not connecting the dots about how important Felicia was to Ryan's evilness. I don't know, but it was interesting that she did. Yeah, like they're like introducing each other. Like I'm Felicia and I'm, like she should have known who Felicia was on site if she really knew,
right,
background.
Yeah, I had always just kind of assumed that like Ryan had spun a tale for her about like, this is who I really am. Like, this is what the media says about me, and this is what Felicia said about me, and this is what Ava said about me, but this is who I really am. So for her to not know who Felicia is feels very strange.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree about the scene. Like I loved the movement of the scene. Like you went in not knowing how these three people were going to interact, and like perspective was changed by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was interesting. It was fun to see them all kind of play their part of like trying to figure each other out. And while I certainly do not want Felicia to be and Esme to be related, and I don't want Esme to be redeemed, like Avery Pohl as an actor is undeniable. She's just gonna take whatever she's given and make it juicy, entertaining, and infuriating. So I always love seeing her and John work together, and seeing her work with Christina was also a delight.
Mm-hmm.
So who is your performer or performers of the week?
I would have to say, now that I've kind of talked myself through it, it would be, Christina Wagner, John Lindstrom, and Avery Pohl. I do agree with you though. Trina and Jocelyn scenes were amazing, and Laura and Spencer scenes were also amazing. They're always going to be amazing. But But I think for this week that those three were the standouts for me.
Yeah. I think you said like what you said, Sandra, like that even in just that hospital room for like the short time they were given, they moved things forward. It
Yes.
didn't feel repetitive like some of the other scenes are. Yeah, so I appreciated that.
I was like, oh, something new that's moving the plot along and having characters who have been circling each other actually interact.
Yeah.
Is this storytelling? Ooh,
Imagine
we can do
character-based storytelling. What?
So speaking of that development, what's working for you?
Yeah, so it's gonna be a little bit of everything we kind of just talked about, actually. And how I'm seeing it is the things that are on the show that are actually classic soap are working. I think we've engaged in this discourse that's been going on around like, what is classic soap, right? Like, there have been things that I am viewer, have disliked about the show currently. Like, I think in a lot of ways trying to be sensationalist and not doing like the storytelling to actually back that up. And then in other places being really boring and like tame. And then people being like, well, you don't like it when it's classic soap, but then, you complain when things are calm. Hear that. And I've said before, I think that there are a lot of things that define what soapiness is. It's a very broad way of thinking, because if it's been on a soap and it's something that's attributed to soap operas, then it's soapy. And so I think some of the things that worked for me that I felt were like classic soap was, well, first of all, of course, Vanna, right? For all the things that we've already said. But I really loved how it was rooted in nostalgia, right? They're watching this classic movie and there's something about the Vanna dynamic that is very like classic Hollywood. But it's the things about classic Hollywood that remain relevant. And without the things that make it cringy and hard to watch, right? And I'm talking mostly about the misogyny of classic Hollywood. There's like a lot of ways in which a dynamic between Vanna could slide into that misogyny territory if you weren't dealing with a character like Anna Devane, who throughout her entire history has been subverting like misogynistic tropes. And then a character like Valentine, who is I think a romantic anti-hero that pushes like some gender boundaries, which is why he's often like a favorite character of queer fans. Like, queer fans frequently kind of reference the Cassinines, but also specifically Valentine as kind of like playing with masculinity in really interesting ways. I mean, he is bae that brings caviar and umami popcorn on a date. And so they have that kind of like bantering new, like old Hollywood vibe of like, we can't quite trust each other, and we have different values, but we have these things in common, and that tension is really delightful. And it's also doesn't rely on old ass tired tropes. Like, these are really skilled actors playing with very classic tropes, but keeping it fresh. And like, there are ways in which really kind of like only a vet could do that. So what they're doing with Vanna, and specifically what Finola and JPS are doing with Vanna, classic soap. Then you have like Laura and Spencer, and I thought that really embodied the family ties aspect of soaps and like legacy and why that's so important. Like, the relationship between Laura and Spencer really feels like a throwback to the best of Laura's relationships with her son. with her sons, plural, right? It's like all of the things that we loved about her relationship with Lucky and Nicholas, but it's better. You know, there's a lineage here from Jeannie to Jonathan Jackson and Tyler Christopher, and then to Nicholas Chavez here that's very special, and that we get a lot of that legacy piece, and their relationship isn't straightforward. It is complicated. They do have conflict, but it's like really, really grounded in deep respect, no matter what's going on between them. So like Laura's opinion of Spencer is extremely valuable to him. And he really wants to prove, and you saw this so much in the scene, that he's capable of being who she wants him to be, but he can't explain it to her yet. And I loved that tension in that scene, even though I hate his plan. Like Tracey, you already named that one. Like when she asked, so what's most important in your life now? And he has that kind of look. It's like, oh, you know, like he's talking about Trina, but he can't talk about her. And like him choking out his acceptance of Ava was so good. He was just like, I guess, like you could see that it was like physically painful for him to do it. And Laura was just like, oh, good. Like, it was such a great scene. You know, them talking about Cameron and Liz was so tender. And the split second when they talked about Trina just really spoke volumes. And so highlighting this relationship is really important for Spencer's character. We've talked about this before, especially as he is on the outs with Trina, like getting to see this like grounded side of him. And it's really important for soaps in general, because it keeps that through line between who is a more iconic soap opera character that's on the air than Laura. You know, the only comparable one would be Marlena. So like this through line is incredibly important. And it's fun, and it has its own life too. And then finally, Joss and Trina is classic soap, like friendship hijinks between like two young women. How many like fun stories have come out of that on soaps? You know, we have like Felicia and Anna, for example. But I also was getting some like, it was reminding me of like Greenlee and Kendall too on All My Children, you know, like that, like, let's get together, let's scheme. And it actually doesn't have anything to do with a man or being in a love triangle. The focus is like on solving a mystery and providing some comic relief, but also like showing the devotion of friendship. When Joss was like, date me instead, that was such a beautiful moment. And that like, that's her priority. She didn't even know Cam went on this vacation. She certainly didn't ask Cam if he wanted to study abroad. Like, Jocelyn's focus is Trina, and that's really refreshing. And that's something that gets overlooked a lot when we think about what does it mean to be soapy. So I appreciate the things that are actually classic soap on GH.
Yeah, I had Josh and Trina's friendship as a thing that was working for me too, mostly because like I remember when I thought they were going to be on the outs and how hard that was for me. And part of why it's so hard is because their friend group is so small. Like they don't have anybody but each other. So if they're on the outs, like who becomes like the person they talk to? And what I don't like is for people to be isolated in their relationships. So like I think people wanted like a Spencer and Trina against the world kind of story, which I like. If it's like, you know, your family doesn't like it, but you still have friends. What I don't like is like people being like super isolated with each other and nobody understanding it. That's like just not my trope. But yeah, I really enjoy their friendship. And I think about like a Robin and Brenda, for example, is what that friendship reminds me of. So Josh and Trina for sure. Like I've never been disappointed by a scene with them. I've been disappointed in Josh if she's done like something wild, but I've never left a scene like disappointed from like what has moved between them. Um, the other thing I have is Anna is just like working. And I say that because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who is the person who got me into All My Children. So I started watching All My Children in 2001. And so Anna was on All My Children at that point. And so like, but she was like that girl to us. Like that was like the person who drew me in. They were like, oh, y'all, you should know this character, Anna Devane. Like she was just like, and none of them had watched General Hospital. They were all on My Children fan. I was the person in 2000. I started watching GH in the summer of 03. And I came back to school like, y'all, I know we love All My Children and One Life to Live. We gotta add another one. And then like that was, and then they were like reluctant and they came back for Night Shift because Anna came to Night Shift. And so to have this character who was like beloved on General Hospital, be able to move to All My Children, and people have no reference, zero reference, and still like she was like the first person that we were like drawn to. I think is so special and so important. And having a character like Anna who like stands on her own, so like we love Vanna because of Anna. Like Valentine was redeemed because of Anna. That like period. If you would have told me the Valentine who shot that fake Nicholas out the window would one day be one of my favorite characters, I wouldn't have believed you. And that was because we hadn't seen the power of Anna Devane flow through him yet. And so flowed through him. So I just think that as a character and as like what folks should aspire to, like is Anna. She is like the standard when it comes to that. And I love that they are giving her a fresh new romance. That it's not like, oh, you're over 35, so therefore you don't get whatever. It's like, no. You're sexy. People love you. You can act your ass off. Let's give you everything because you deserve it and because you can handle it. So that's something. And then I don't know if this is between, I was going to say Sante's working. And I wanted to say Sante because they get so little. Like, I was one of the people remember I was like, all right, y'all. And I ain't got a story yet, but it's coming. And I'm like, so now I'm impatient. Where's the story? Yes. And I do not want the story to be this new Dex. Nobody wants that. Who cares? No. But what I love is that they are so good together. Like they feel like a couple. They are that couple who like is really into each other at the bar and they duck off early. Like, we know what you're about to go do.
Yes.
Like that is who they are. And I just think to be able to carry all of that when we haven't been able to see them and they don't get overly lovey-dovey scenes, it's really just the vibe that they've been able to curate. Like, have to give a shout out to Sante. And then finally, I actually don't know if this is working or not working, but the Carson scene. What I'm hoping, this is what I'm manifesting. Okay. I'm manifesting that this is the last of their like scenes like that together. It felt like a turning point because they both like dipped off into their respective new potential pairings. I actually don't need to see any more Carson scenes.
I'm on board.
We know what we know. We feel what we feel. And I was like sharing with, I think I was sharing with Tara from Port Misery. It's also that we all see the story so differently that there's no changing our minds when it happens. Like when they're together, my mind isn't changed anymore because some movement happened. So when Sunny was with her and he was like trying to throw Jason in her face and all of these things, my resolve was not changed. I was like, you know what? Sunny has a point. I was like, fuck Sunny. And I look online at people who like Sona, I could never be me. But I look online for people who like, see they like Sona, they're like, see, Carly wanted to throw her marriage away with both hands. we're never going to see this the same. So let's move on. Let's let these people move to new pairings where they're not talking about each other. This is my man. I'm manifesting it. Let's just move on. It's just not happening, especially with the exposition piece of what happened to break up the marriage. It's over. It's broken up. It's done. I don't care. I've never been a stripper. I don't think, I think something's trash. I think that he's shown he's trash. Let's move on. That's my hope.
I hope so too. And I support you in your manifesting. I don't know that that's going to happen because this is just Carson. It's sort of also like, to take it outside of the GH context, it kind of reminds me of, Carson reminds me of Dawson and Joey on Dawson's Creek, where it's like they had all these moments.
How dare you?
Finally, well, I feel the same way about both couples. Like you're like, oh, finally they're having this conversation, they're getting the closure that they need, they realize they don't belong together, and then 2 episodes later it's the same ass weird drama between them that nobody cares about,
Right.
So, and it's been like that with Carson for decades. So I'm just channeling Tara here about the boom and bust cycle of Carson. I'm like also imagining myself like, what does Tara's Discord emoji look like? It's like,
shout out to Susie for making us all emojis. So Tonya, during the day when you're working, so when like Susie like streams GH for us on Discord, and has made emojis for us. Mine looks like this.
Mine looks like this.
It's very smug. Like, we were right emojis. So that's what we do during the day when you're saving the world. So anyway, what's working for you, Tonya?
I think you guys covered a lot of what's working for me. I mainly put like the characters and the actors that are working for me, that are working well. So like Esme, Felicia, and Ryan. I mean, Trina and Jocelyn, Laura and Spencer, Vanna. Pretty much their movement this week worked for me.
Yeah.
Now, there's a caveat because, especially with Trina and Jocelyn, again.
Ooh, I see you.
Work on my mind. The caveat is that the fact that they are doing this, it still pisses me off because yes, we do want Trina to have ownership of saving herself. I mean, that's always a goal. But there are people who had done something in this investigation and they failed at doing it so bad. I was really actually super pissed at Spinelli because it felt like he's like, okay, so the serial numbers are gone on the cell phone, so it's lost. That's it. There's nothing to do. Hello, you were the tech for the underground criminal activity, so you should have known that's not the end of the story. You should have known that there was some sort of underground crime ring selling cell phones. You knew where that was happening, and yet you just left it at that. Why was Trina and Jocelyn the one going to that bar? They didn't have to go to the bar. He should have gone to the bar. Yep. Or got one of Sonny's thugs to go to the bar and find this information. And browbeat and beat up the thug and said, hey, who did you sell this phone to? All of this stuff could have been done a long time ago. But I know you guys are telling me they don't want this solved because if it's solved, then whoop. Yes, understand. But it's still, I felt like Spinelli dropped the ball totally on this investigation. And I'm feeling like, PCPD's doing the same thing. Who all the people who said, we're going to do something to find out what's going on are dropping the ball. And that's so problematic to me. that this teenage girl has to go and do some dangerous things in order to save herself because the adults in her life apparently got other things to do. Like Spinelli has to run his, secret dating site thing, which again, it's also not working for me, is that whole storyline. The fact that he has to keep it such a secret that he succumbs to blackmail for the most problematic new character who doesn't need to be on the show. I'm skipping ahead to what's not working. I'm sorry.
I love it all. Keep going. Keep going.
I mean,
everything that you said, I was like, yep, smug.
I mean, it's so stupid to me why that even happened. And, Carly, so focused on Carson, again, did not need, I mean, the recap did not need to happen. I'm glad she found closure that she needed. But like Sunny said, the divorce was final weeks ago.
The divorce.
The divorce that Carly wanted.
That she asked for was over.
Carly wanted space. She was in love with Jason. He came home.
Yeah, I actually liked the closing line that Sunny had. Like, you don't know nothing about lying. Yeah, she knows a lot about lying, and she's currently lying now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but you know what? It's funny, and I know you don't wish Carson to have another scene, but I did have to grudgingly admire the scene between Carly and Sunny because they are good at what they do. And since the producers are forcing them on us almost all the time, then I was like, oh, that was a nice scene that they had, sort of. It wasn't the best scene. It wasn't my like performance of the week scene, but I do enjoy the scenes that they have together. But they didn't need it because they're over and they're done and whatever. Oh, you know what was working for me? Cameron Matheson's chest. He's doing great.
It was working for Carly too.
It wasn't
Carly.
It wasn't working enough for her to do the skinny dip though, which was a missed opportunity, I feel. So
let's lean in.
Right.
To Matheson's chest because we can't lean into his acting. So listen, I believe I am a strengths-based person. I believe we play to people's strengths. I'm very good at identifying what their strengths are. And I'm also very good at identifying what they're not. And I just believe in supporting people to work from a place of strength to set them up for success. And he has literally a very strong chest. It's very strong. Yeah. And you lean into it all the way in.
And he works really hard for it. I mean, he's a cancer survivor and that was hard for him. So, shout out to him.
Yeah.
Go fill up on Carly, please.
Feel up. Get naked in that pool. Now that is classic soap.
What's
literally, I'm thinking about like John and Marlena in skinny dipping is an iconic days scene, for example. So skinny dipping is classic soap. And so rectify this, GH.
I appreciate Carly being like, that at my place of business. Bitch, I own this.
This reminds me of Top Gun a lot. Because Top Gun played into that kind of like trope, classic 80s movie type theme of shirtless men playing volleyball. That was a trope and they played into it and it worked. No one was complaining about it.
It's very iconic.
What's not working for you, Tracey, before I go off into this list and not have you guys have anything to say? So
I'm fine with that. I'd rather listen to you than me. The lack of Sprina together is not working for me. Right. I think we had such a build when Sydney was there. And like we have all of these like videos, people to be able to do edits and like all of this. And since we've switched to having Tamiana, who's doing an amazing job, obviously as Trina, we don't get those scenes. Like there could be more gallery scenes. They don't have to be happy. And I understand that like the writers have written them into like kind of a unhappy corner with each other. But to not be able to have anything is really hard. And it's just not working. Like we need to see them together. We need to like, especially if they're not going to give Rory a personality. Like I have like high hopes for Tabiana and for Trina to like be in a love triangle, because I think that that's like what makes like heroines, and like that's like the thing that people like remember. You know, when you think about Brenda, so Brenda's a lot of things, but you remember the Sunny and Jack's love triangle. Like, so I was like really excited for Trina and for Tabiana to have that. But if the pacing is gonna be what the pacing is, then like that's not, it's actually not fair to like what they're trying to build for Sprina, for us to not have Tabiana, Trina, and Nicholas's Spencer be able to build anything together. So that's not working for me. Spinelli is not working for me. I don't like it. I just move on. And then I think there's just like, it's both like the pacing and the cramming of too many stories in one episode. I was like listening to this interview that Jenny Francis did with Soap Opera Digest, and she was like talking about how they used to shoot, and like how it would be like, they would just have pages and pages of dialogue, and it was like more like a play, and you can't actually get a lot of emotion in some of these like very short scenes that they're doing, or these clips. And so I feel like I remember when you would have maybe like 2 or 3, maybe 4 stories in one episode. And sometimes those stories would like intersect. So much of these stories just don't naturally intersect with each other. And that's like very difficult with the pacing, and it's really difficult with like having scenes that are more than like 50 seconds. We loved Trina and Joss at the bar, and I think that was like a total like runtime of like 3 minutes and 50 seconds. It's like it's fine like to give us less story in one episode, I think, and be able to like really have some spaciousness within the actors and the stories that we like.
And unfortunately, when they do kind of focus up in feature like 1 or maybe 2 stories, it's things like Wiley's Adults.
Yeah.
That's the only story. Like there definitely were some episodes in February Sweeps where it was just like basically all Peter, but it was important because it was like, it was moving the story, it was ending the story, and so it was actually really good. It was like, it made sense to just really focus in on that story. But with the Wiley's Adult stuff, they during May Sweeps, yikes, it was very dusty.
They've overplayed their hands with them. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Sandra, what's not working for you?
I also agree about the Sprina not being together, ever not working. It's such a waste to like create all this tension and drama between them and then not harvest from it. Like they should be having scenes where they're forced to interact with each other. And I think similar to the formula, when they are in scenes, like it works, like they're forced to interact with each other. They find themselves like drawn to each other and like starting to fall into a comfortable dynamic, and then they snap out of it. Like I could watch that every week.
Yeah.
And of course, I'll be complaining about other things, but I wouldn't be complaining about that. So it's like, why go through all the trouble to create all this drama between them and then not do anything with it? But what really popped for me this week, what's not working, is what I'm calling Camp Vampire Sausage Fest. Which really should have opened with a voiceover that said, the role of Elizabeth Weber will now be played by Hamilton McClay. Why are we having a camp? We finally have Elizabeth's boys together on a camping trip that she's not on.
Tragic.
Full of men who I don't care about. And also to have Roger as Austin on the camping trip was another layer of disrespect. So I'm like, so here's these kids' real ass stepdad. And what do we have him doing? He's out here, part of another couple that people don't care about, collecting sticks. That's what we have, an actor of Roger Howarth and Kristen Storm's caliber. We got them out here collecting sticks for s'mores. And,
You didn't like that?
I thought it was fine. It was finely acted. Well, what are you supposed to do with that?
It was adorable. I felt like that's all it was adorable. Oh, that's cute.
It was cute for two buddies going camping.
Yes.
One of which doesn't like camping, the other one does. But it was not giving romance. It was not giving love in the afternoon. It's like, we have all these boys and men.
It was not giving, is what you're saying.
It was not giving. All boys and men, except for Violet and Maxie, who also like don't have a relationship besides Violet being cute. I mean, sure, anyone can react to Violet being cute.
Didn't they used to though?
Huh?
Sorry, didn't they used to have a relationship? Violet and Maxie when
With Peter?
she was at Anna's?
Yeah. Sure.
Anyway.
But not really, because the relationship was with Peter, not with Maxie.
Right.
So we're using this one setting to shove two couples down our throats that couldn't be working less. One of those couples, a half of that couple isn't even present. And then we wrap it up with boys singing and playing the guitar.
But don't forget, because it was such a small moment, that somebody's out there stalking Austin for some reason. Like they're like some.
Yeah, no, I know what moment you're talking about.
Yeah, it was just
my
like,
blank face was just, I don't care.
Right. Because there's no context. There's no.
And there's not going to be follow-up for weeks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Austin, we will pick this back up again maybe in July. And I'll care even less then. So it's just basically, it's like, this is just everything that's wrong with GH in one setting at Camp Vampire Sausage Fest. That's it.
Oh, Lord. You know, we were going to talk a little bit like behind the scenes stuff as if we're doing a deep dive. And so I think since you ended on the Camp Vampire Sausage Fest.
Yes, correct.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. We should pick up on Becky Hurt's tweet, which is right there.
Mm.
So I'm sure if you're on Twitter, you've seen it. It also has made its way to Facebook. On Friday night, Rebecca Hertz tweeted. So there's always like these rumors going around about Elizabeth. So like everybody understands that Elizabeth is like not on the canvas like she should, that she's like a vet on the soap and like they're not treating her with respect, and that her storylines don't center her, as evident by this week. And so but there's always rumors like, oh, well, you know, she had kids, she don't really want to work. Oh, this is going on. So Becky was like, let me hop up in on the Shade Room and tell y'all what it is. So I'm going to read her tweets. She said, well, hello there, dot, dot, dot. Just thought I'd shut down some rumors that have been circulating. I haven't been fired. I'm not on vacation. I don't have COVID. My kids don't keep me from working, nor do I have cramps. The best one yet. Smiley crying face. I hope you all have a great weekend. XOXO, heart. Hashtag GH.
She's like, let me tag this to make sure.
In case the bitch didn't know, don't be blaming my babies. Don't be worried about my cramps. And a bitch is COVID free. So if you want to know why I'm not at work, ask Frank's ass why I'm not at work. But Becky is classier than me, so she didn't say that.
She said, have a blessed day.
Yeah.
Becky said heart emoji.
She
How do
said,
y'all feel about it?
happy weekend. Fuck y'all.
Well, I mean, I don't have any feelings except that she told the truth.
Mhm.
She's like, I'm not gonna have you guys spinning your wheels. This is what's not happening. I'll let you guys actually ask the people who are responsible for it. That's all there is to that.
Period. There's always rumors about her and where she is, where she's not, and why she's there, why she's not. And she said, oh, no. The rumors are not true. Let me come and tear down a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones I didn't tear down, read into that what you will. And I left it. There's no reason that her story should be this bad. There's no reason that her story should like censor this man. And I find it particularly egregious that we have not seen the three of her children on screen together in so long. And when we do, because we know her kids stay booked and busy.
Sure.
So when you have the opportunity to bring the three of them together, they're with a man she just broke up with. That's what we thought it was more important to advance the maybe relationship between her kids and Finn than having her kids like come visit her.
Or having her kids present when she left.
Right.
It also makes me wonder, I'm like, is it as hard to schedule the kids as, we thought? If you were able to get them all together for this, of all things, plus have to do rehearsal and recording for the songs, which they would have had to, like that's a whole other process in and of itself without me being snarky. I just, I hate it when white men sing. I just do. It's a personal lifestyle choice of mine. But without even being funny, and of course, like William is so talented and I love him, but I just, the fact that I love him and he just randomly sings with a guitar sometimes actually just speaks a lot to how much I love William, because that's not my jam. But like that does take work. Like everything they did took so much work, and I'm like, well, we don't have time for Elizabeth's kids to all be together when she's not in the mental institution and like with her.
We didn't have time for Liz to get an on-screen reaction to Jason's death.
Well, she was having cramps, apparently.
Oh God. Who the hell would even say that? Like, what kind of behind the scenes? I mean, thankfully, I have secured a timeline. I would have never seen no shit like that.
Did it come from fans? That's what I was like,
I guess so. I mean, I've always seen timeline speculation about her kids that like she's busy being a mom, and so she actually doesn't want to appear. And it happens so much. Like I never thought about it. I was like, oh, maybe she is busy because like there are, like maybe she is busy. I don't know. She's like, no, it's not that because I don't even know how old her kids are. I don't really know much about her
Her
life.
kids are like not that, they're old.
Yeah,
Like
not young.
they're not like toddlers.
I mean, it just like to me speaks volumes that people can get cast from texting Frank and they have to like build a whole like reality around Sunny to like give him a story now. And they can't bring Becky into her own story and leading it. This is her, 25th year anniversary? She should have a story specifically for her 25th year anniversary, and it should feature and center her, period. Somebody gives 25 years to something, and she's actually never left. She's always been Elizabeth Weber. Like, you respect that. That means something to people when they like tune back in and they're like, oh, there goes Liz. I mean, if you tune in, I mean, you would barely see her.
If I tuned in, I'd be like, why is Elizabeth being played by Michael Easton? Something feels strange here. I mean, I'm all about like gender bending casting, but something doesn't quite seem right here.
I know you are. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, because I want to play the next Nicholas Cassadine. And I really appreciate how in Marcus Coloma's interview, there wasn't much that was good, but the one thing I loved the most was when he talked about how his contract he did confirm it is up this year. That was
so Marcus Coloma did an interview with Soap Opera News.net. The interviewer was Angela Ryan Duncan. And Marcus definitely talked.
He was all over the place. Like I never really there's anything very coherent.
No.
The biggest takeaway, aside from his contract being almost up, that I took away was that he thinks that him and Esme are playing a love story.
Yeah.
And that he clearly admires Maurice Bernard and Steve Burton. Feels that he can follow in their movie making footsteps.
Which films is he referring to?
Well, Maurice Bernard played a gangster in some movie, and yeah, I don't know what Steve Burton has done in movies.
I think he was in something in the 90s when he was like, I'm too good for GH. Let me go.
So let me tell you about my relationship with Steve Burton, which is why I'm so disappointed in who he is as a human. There used to be a show that I feel like I'm the only person that used to watch, called Out of This World.
Oh, I've seen it.
Out of This World.
Out of This World. And it was like the main character was an alien. Her name was Evie. And she used to freeze time. And she used to do like this to freeze time. Her dad was like an alien being, but he wasn't present. And so like he used to be in this like glass container or something. Anyway, Steve Burton came on to be her love interest. So that's actually how I met Steve Burton. So the first time I saw Jason, I was like, wait a second. Like, I had to like go frantically Google to like see. I was like, is that Chris? It was very, yeah. So that's how I met Steve Burton.
That's
so
actually what I was. That was the snarky thing I was referring to when I was like, when he would like did one thing. That was the thing, because I remember when he was on it, and I'll be like, oh, you know what? I'll watch this. I know him. And then it was on for like a few episodes? It wasn't on for very long, was it?
Hold up, let's not
No, the show,
disparage.
I'm Googling the show right now. It was on for
There were 6 seasons. I don't think I watched all 6, but there were 6 seasons.
Was he on all of them?
No,
Okay.
but
No.
there were 6.
My bad, Steve. I hope you'll accept my insincere apology.
Get out of here.
Speaking.
I mean, but
I
Marcus
usually only like to slander you with the truth.
Marcus was in Beverly Hills Chihuahua
2 and 3.
2 and 3.
That
That
one.
one.
That one.
And in the interview, it was funny because he was just like, why would someone make this movie? And then he's in 2 and 3. He felt the first one shouldn't have been made. Beggars can't be choosers, so
He certainly can't be a chooser then.
There were so many things that just like happened in that interview. So one of the things I want to just go through some things that stuck out for me. He said he definitely watched Tyler Christopher. That couldn't be true. It just could not be true. You're not even imitating Tyler Christopher. Let's not do that.
I think it is true. I think it is true, and I think he thinks he is in that vein. That's how delusional he is.
I do not accept that. I will also say that I did laugh when he was basically like he dropped out of school because he's on the phone with a girl.
And he said that he wanted to be a doctor.
He was like, I was pre-med at junior college. Okay, there's no major called pre-med. Let's first of all call period. You could be like a biology major and like take some courses, but you certainly weren't pre-med when you were on the phone with some girl and dropped out of junior college.
Right, because those who want to be a doctor, they really, really want to be a doctor. And so having an all-night phone call probably wouldn't have even dropped your grade on your final to get an F. You might have missed some questions, but you would have been studying so hard all throughout the year that one test would not have dropped your grade to a C.
I don't know.
Like your teacher probably would have been like, hey, I noticed that your performance on the last test wasn't as great. Would you like an extra credit point? Or would you like something? But he used that as an excuse to just drop out of school altogether. That was the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Well,
can you imagine if you rolled up and Marcus Coloma was your doctor?
Sir,
no, we're kind of glad. I'm actually glad that happened, so we wouldn't have had that situation occur.
But now we're stuck with this.
Better than bad entertainment is better than bad medical service.
There's already a lot of bad medical service out there.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Pray for me. I'm going to the doctor on Wednesdays.
But the other thing that just like really stuck out to me was that he doesn't understand Nicholas as a character. Like the way he was talking about Nicholas, I was like, what are you talking about? It was just very bizarre.
He's like, Nicholas isn't winning, and I feel sorry for him. He could be winning.
It was like the way he talked about him was not about him being a prince, but more about him being like a businessman. You know, like it was just like a very weird. I'm like, the royalty piece of who he is actually like why he's so proper. You know what I mean? Like it's like he's not just some random CEO. Like he's a prince, and the fact that you don't know that, you know, carries through some of your awful performances.
Ooh, I often am so like grateful when the actors take us through their process. It usually like just makes me feel like, oh, so I'm like more impressed and like feel more connected to them, and sometimes even like their characters better after I hear about their process. Like that's how it was for Amanda Setton, that I like after like doing that Zoom event with her, I was like, oh, okay, like I feel like I get her process in Brooklyn better, and it just like made me appreciate the character in a different way. With Marcus, it is just the opposite. I'm like, I wish I didn't know this. I wish I didn't know anything about your process or like what you thought about the character, because I actually had a more generous take of you before hearing this than after. And that's pretty bad because I can't think of very many people who I'm more ungenerous to than him. So if this made me less generous towards him, you know, there's a reason why he doesn't get very many opportunities to do press. And I was like, wow, you're really printing this whole interview, huh?
Woo.
No editing? Okay.
Right. The story about breaking up with his girlfriend because he was still Nicholas.
Oh my God. What?
Just like, what's
No one at the end of the day tells you to stop being this person. I'm pretty sure this is called acting. So it's kind of no one should have to tell you, okay, Marcus, now cut means don't be in character anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't go to theater school, and I'm pretty sure he didn't either. But I don't think you have to be a trained actor to understand that.
He had just admired Maura West for being able to do that, right? Like when he said, when the camera's on, Maura West isn't Maura West anymore. She's the love of my life and all this other stuff. But when they say cut, she's Maura West again. You can take that obvious example of what great acting is to your own personal life. So you're still Nicholas and you break up with your girlfriend.
And the sad thing is that he's not even Nicholas.
He's not.
So who was he?
I don't know, whatever his character was from Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2.
And 3.
And
Don't forget 3.
Sorry, disrespectful. There's 2 other things I want to talk about. So one, I want to talk about how he talks about Avery. So I want to read. He talked about what it was like filming the actual scenes. So he said, for me and Avery, just so you know, we both were nervous. I'm 43 and she's 20. And she's like, oh, Marcus, I'm so sorry. And I was like, Avery, I'm so sorry. We were both so nervous doing those scenes. He has very high praise for Avery. He says, I think she's an incredible actress, fearless and incredible. And she blew me away. What we were kind of playing with was this forbidden love. What he had to say next about these scenes was both shocking and enlightening. Quote, I was going to Windermere and drinking the amount of scotch with the contemplation of ending it. His son's relationship is gone and now he thinks he's lost Ava, and so what's the point? So in a weird way, as bad as Esme is, she saved his life.
What? I forgot that he said that because there were so many nonsensical things in that interview, but like, where did that come from?
Were you trying to tell me that Nicholas was suicidal?
Because here's the thing. Either that was in the script and you didn't play that, or you just made that up, and that's nonsense. But either way, you're not good at this, honey. You should consider a different line of work. And he did say that he enjoys the feedback, good or bad. So I'm just going to keep giving him very honest, straightforward feedback that he is bad. And he seems to enjoy it. So it's a symbiotic relationship.
I mean, did he literally mean save Nicholas' life, or just, you know, made him feel better because he was able to have sex? And if that's the equivalent of saving Nicholas's life, really don't know that character at all.
Why was he going to end it over having the same fight that he's been having with Ava?
And
there was no big conflict with Spencer.
No, it was not. It was not.
Things are for Spencer and Nicholas,
Really
relatively
going well.
speaking, fine. So
Yes.
I'm like, what are you?
What are you talking about?
This is just Marcus's world and the rest of us are living in it, I guess.
So I'm gonna go on to some more of what he said. Then there's this almost euphoric, I love you because you literally just saved my life. Obviously it's fleeting and it's temporary and reality crashes and it's like, what just happened? But in the moment, I think what was romantic about it is there was this forbidden love between these two tragic characters. She was raised by a serial killer.
No, she wasn't.
And there's this moment of like connection and acceptance. So there's something I really love about those two.
Well, she was not raised by a serial killer, first of all.
You're just making shit up.
She's not in love with him.
She's not. And I'm like, Marcus, you're the only person who's talking about it like this. Contrast with John Lindstrom, who like specifically talked about the ickiness of the dynamic between Ryan and Esme, and like how hard him and Avery work at like playing the tension between them correctly, and how they also, part of that meant acknowledging that it was gross and that they needed to like work to make it nuanced and not just disgusting.
And so on one hand, you have Kevin, Brian, the great John Lindstrom, talking about the ways that he has worked to make Avery comfortable, talking about the ways that they've talked about this and understood their characters. And on the other hand, you have Marcellus, who doesn't even understand his whole character. He doesn't understand what's happening with Avery or with Esme. He doesn't understand what's happening with his own character. Like, he is just all over the place. And he's like giving these interviews when nobody else is looking at it this way. Tonya, to your point, he goes on to say, I recently ended a relationship. I don't even know if she'll believe this. I was rehearsing some of the stuff that me and Ava had recently that's aired. The fighting and all of that stuff in the bar scene. He's like, I love you and you love me. She's like, I can't do this anymore. I was rehearsing the scene and I swear I was being Nicholas Cassadine and my girlfriend walked in and I was like, this isn't working out. And I broke up with her. And the next day I was like, what happened? And she was like, no, there's no way. I'm not going to do this. You're crazy. And she was done. And she was 100% right.
Why would you share this with people? If you did this, you should just keep this to yourself.
Keep this to yourself.
And it wasn't even in his script to say, this isn't working. Nicholas did not say that on the show. So why would you do that?
This was unprompted sharing. Nobody asked you any of this.
That poor girl. I'm glad she got out because he is crazy.
Shout out to Marcus Colombo's ex-girlfriend.
Congratulations.
You got out.
Congratulations. And then I do want to get into one thing that kind of dovetails. So, like, the other thing I want to talk about from Marcus's interview was what he talked about social media and how the show looks at it. And then I wanted to talk about who gets to complain and who listens. So I had a Twitter exchange with someone. I posted it for y'all that was like about who should producers listen to? Like, everybody has a complaint. Who should they listen to? So we had done a Spaces earlier before I'd even seen that, a Twitter Spaces that was like about just like what wasn't working with the show, and it was like really themes. So I attached it and we kind of went back and forth. But anyway, so what Marcus said in his interview, which kind of lit up social media, was that they like the GH social media people actually don't care what we're saying. They just want the show talked about. And so that like became like a really big thing. I don't know. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that's true, or what do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I think it's possible that that person also said that to Marcus because he gets so much negative feedback on social media. Like he gets, I actually don't think that there's anyone on the show, especially currently, who gets like such a uniformly like negative response as Marcus does. So I would also put that in context. I mean, I don't think their social media people are very good. So I think that could be true. I think it could be true that they're like so inept that they don't care about anything besides like the quantitative data. But if they were good, I mean, here's the thing about taking in feedback. When you are a creator of anything, right? Whether that's you're a writer, you're an actor, you're even just like myself as someone who facilitates programming, for example, like you obviously can't listen to every piece of feedback you get. You can't review it all a lot of times, and you certainly can't listen to everything because there are some people who are just not going to like you. There are some people like you're going to remind them of their mother or their, you know, brother who hated them. Like there's so much that goes into like people interacting with your creations. You can't get in granularly obsessed over it. And when you zoom out and you notice patterns and you notice people engaging in a certain way, and it's not the way that you intend for them to engage, or like you're noticing like something is catching on, that is feedback for you to look at. So it's like, it's critical thinking. Like, obviously you don't listen to every person's feedback, and you have all this free data here for you to work with. So why wouldn't you work with it? It's like actually platforms like Twitter, Facebook, all these different social media platforms are explicitly for collecting data to sell things to us. So not engaging with the feedback in a critical, like meaningful way, you're basically throwing away free data that you could be selling the show to us better. But you know, whatever.
I think in some ways, some social media folks say that, you know, just being talked about is important. But there's also, you know, cultivating a following and kind of just like being a type of person that they're drawn to, producing content that's important. Like some people have like a specific type of content that they share, where they're talking about politics or they're talking about food or they're talking about something and they stick with it. And like some actors are known for being, you know, great actors and they do what they do and folks follow them, but they don't necessarily talk about acting. And they still have a great following. So if we're still comparing John Lindstrom with Marcus Coloma, John Lindstrom has 32,000 followers because he's that great of an actor and people want to understand who he is and what his life is like. And he doesn't necessarily always talk about Ryan, or like he didn't go on Twitter and be like, oh, did you see that caress between Ryan and Esme? Never, right? He didn't do that. John Lindstrom mainly talks about how awesome his wife is.
Yeah, very cute.
Right? Or, you know, what event he's gone to or something like that, you know?
What food him and his wife ate on vacation.
Right. It's really chronicling how, you know, his marriage. It's all.
It's very well, and here's the thing, both John Lindstrom and Marcus are Libras.
Don't talk about this.
And Marcus is like the bad like version of like a Libra man social media feed, right? It's like chasing clout from like people who actually like don't really have that much clout. Maurice Bernard. And I really love how like Tracey, you're always like, we don't really go after the actors, and I'm like, me neither. Except for the actors I routinely go after every week. But anyway, I have boundaries about it. But like John Lindstrom is like, let me talk about my boo. Let me talk about my art, but like not too much. And let me also like lift up other people who I work with, whether that's on GH or in his many other projects. And let me talk about how amazing they are. And it's a delight.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
I'm mad that you told people that Marcus was a Libra. I don't want people to know that.
Is he like a Virgo Libra or Scorpio Libra?
He's a, well, he is later in October.
Sandra does not believe in cusps.
I don't believe in cusps, but that's a whole other podcast.
It is.
I don't believe in cusps because they're not real. Anyway.
So I would say I agree with y'all. I think that there's a difference between like feedback about what's happening in a story at a particular moment versus feedback again about an overall story, right? So like that like week and a half where everybody was mad at Nicholas Chavez, well, at Spencer, right? Like nobody was mad at Nicholas Chavez, we love him. But like people were mad at Spencer. And he was just like, he gave an interview, he's like, I know something y'all don't know, right? Like, and so like it is important information. He also has like a very good read on Spencer. Like I really enjoy him actually, like he actually drags Spencer like no one else drags Spencer. Like, but he has a good read on him. And so there's a difference between like people being mad and taking feedback about something that can't be changed, or like people don't have all the information and they're waiting on a story, versus like the feedback of this set of stories that you have are feeding into misogyny. The way these stories are being written are not good. These are the reasons, right? So like there's one thing for me to say, oh, I don't like Sona. And I have said that every week and I'll continue to say it. But it's, and if that doesn't have to be the feedback that you take. But if I say, you know, I think that it's an alienating relationship, I think that it feels abusive, I think that it feels this and that, and I said across relationships, that's like a different sort of feedback. And so I think that there are gonna be like some GH interns, sure, who like don't read and they just want to see the numbers. But if the ratings went down, I guarantee you ABC will be like what was being said online.
Right.
And so we have just seen too many examples of stuff changing as a result of media. I mean, I think it was a little bit of soap opera digest too, but like following the cabin trip, people fucking lost our minds.
Mm-hmm.
And was like, this is a problem, here's why, here's the context. People were on social media, people were calling the comment line, people were writing in. And I do think that part of why Trina's story is so weird right now is because it was supposed to be different. Like, I do think that there were supposed to be people who like didn't believe her, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a difference between the whole town believing you and like things not moving versus like not having support. And so I think that with the feedback, they were like, well, shit, we can't do that. And so things changed. The whole like Wiley's adults trial was written like from opening statements to questioning was written by Twitter. So I just don't believe that people don't listen to feedback. I think that's a way to like squelch feedback and say like it doesn't matter, don't do it. But to your point, Sandra, I hadn't even thought about it. It's so smart, which is that Marcus gets so much bad feedback, so it could have been like, don't worry, bro, we don't look at that.
And then like he goes and he's like, well, I know what to do then. Let me do a bunch of inflammatory tweets about it. And then let me give this absolutely insane, unhinged interview where I basically continue to troll the same people who have been critiquing me. It's like he thinks that he is really like doing something. And I could see this being like part of his campaign to stay on the show. And here's the thing, you still work for Mickey Mouse, honey. And you're out here like pretending like this love story with a teenager is a love story instead of what it is, which is a plot point, a pretty disgusting plot point. That's like really setting up for your exit from the show. But you know
where
what?
the hell does he go from here?
Keep going with your strategy, Marcus. I think that's my feedback for you. Great gowns, beautiful gowns.
Not even that. Not
Great.
even that.
No, it's a great bad strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great bad strategy, which is what he's into. So good job, Marcus. Good job.
I can't even. So there was this question. So like someone posted that was kind of like, well, everybody complains, like who should people listen to? Like who should producers listen to? And so I was like kind of going back and forth with the person in a, you know, just like in a actual genuine way, which was like, it's not about listening to individual fan bases, but it's about like listening to people who talk about things and themes. So I think it's different. There's a difference between I don't think Finn and Liz have chemistry and I feel triggered because Finn's behavior reminds me of an abuser. Like, and I just feel like that is getting overlooked. And it's just so often that when, I mean, I said this last week and I'll continue to say it, like we have like rung the alarm on so many really bad storylines and like why it was put together poorly, how it was put together poorly. And that's just like, y'all don't understand soaps. But then when it gets to the point of being so bad that like men mostly are talking about it, then it's like, oh, move along, y'all. The experts are here to tell you why this is bad. Mm-hmm. Which is, you know, classic misogyny, classic humanity. And so it's just like, for me, who do y'all think that like producers should listen to? Like, is that a valid question? Like, how do you feel about that question? Who do you think, or when do you think networks should take feedback from fans? That I guess maybe that impact the change. I don't know.
You know, I just don't think that's a very good question because it assumes that there's no answer or that there is like one correct answer, when the truth is that incorporating feedback is part of the act of creation, of like public creation. So who do I think producers should listen to? I think that they should use their critical thinking skills and use discernment as to what is just people complaining on Twitter, which is a thing. It's like kind of what the platform thrives in complaint. And then what is meaningful feedback that you're seeing across platforms, themes that you're seeing. I mean, it's just like basic working with qualitative data. So that's why I just don't think that's a very good question, because I just think people should be doing their jobs. And part of their jobs as creators is listening to feedback. It's also part of like this capitalism thing that people like so much. I thought that's like the story that we're told, right? That things are made better through competition and through like liking some things and disliking others and being listened to as consumers. But what we actually know is about capitalism is that that's not true. But that's also another podcast.
Okay, I'm very interested, actually.
Oh, it turns out capitalism doesn't make things better.
Imagine that.
What's the financial consent? You know, anyway.
That's Sandra getting on there. Yes, I love it.
The means of production. We have to seize them. Okay.
I love it. Tonya! Tonya's like, what's happening?
I don't know. I kind of agree. It's a hard question. The whole capitalism thing was like,
Just like take my media studies hat off.
right. Yeah, I feel like, and I guess it kind of goes to that whole social media question. I think the producers could, keep things close to their vest, check in with fans to make sure that they're not totally way off base, or if they like a story, if they don't. But I don't know if it's actually good to listen to certain things all the time.
Mhm.
But it depends. Like if you have a really good story, really good plot, you're gonna have fans say, I don't like Esme. But Esme is important as a character in a story, and Avery Pohl is a great actress. You just have some random people who just don't like that person. Doesn't mean she shouldn't necessarily be on the show. Or if the story is really good, doesn't necessarily mean they should not do the story. They're going to be people who like, I don't like the Black characters on the show, and they shouldn't be on there. Producers shouldn't listen to that because they don't like the Black characters because that person's racist, but it could be all kinds of things. Certain feedback is good, others aren't. You just have to really gauge, what is actually good critical feedback and what isn't. What is just people being people.
And I would think that if you're in charge, you should be able to parse that out. Like, it's just not, if I'm, let's travel back to what, like 07, 08, and I'm a bitter J-Sam fan who's like, I'll never watch this show again if Jason's with Elizabeth. That's bullshit. Like, who cares? Like, that's like ship stuff.
Right.
But if I'm saying there's like, and you are hearing overwhelming like feedback, there's not a focus on family anymore. We've gotten away from that. That like you're not having women centered in their stories. Like that's, feels very misogynistic. That the conflict feels manufactured and not like character driven. Like those are like thematic pieces of feedback that like actually can help encourage like your writing team. And like it's so it's not, like, I mean, it was like just like with Sona, I think they weren't listening at first because it was like, oh well, it's going to be really difficult because we have presented Kirsten as like the couple for years back and forth, and so to like put them into a different pairing is always going to be really difficult. Like that's the boom and bust of like of Kirsten. Like it was always going to be really difficult. And so they didn't listen. And some of that is like right? Like I think that there were people who could have been willing, but along the way, they just lost the plot. They lost like agency and they lost like character development and good storytelling. Like that could have actually made that couple work more. I mean, it worked for some people, whatever. But like that could have made the story work more. And so that's a different set of people or a different concern to listen to. So that's what I think. I think that you have to use your discernment. I think that it's different. It depends on who you listen to and why you listen to them. And there's something valuable that fans are always going to give. And to Sandra's point, like, why wouldn't you want this like free, almost focus group that people would pay like money for people to come in and sit down and do?
Also, there is such a thing as positive feedback, and you're missing out on opportunities to play up things that are working, and that's a big loss.
Mhm.
Like not also looking for, okay, people are talking about this and in a positive way. So let's actually focus on this in a different way from the things that people are by and large saying that are negative. And that's not gonna, you're not gonna pick up on that in the quantitative data piece. Or yes.
Mhm. I mean, it matters that like the time, and this was early on with Sprina, they did a Zoom together that like, boom, tickets were gone. That matters that like there are other people who can't then sell tickets either alone or as couples. Why would you not look at that data to say, this is who I should highlight, this is who I should write better for, this is how people like, you should want to tell a better story, and it doesn't for me feel like they want to tell a better story.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that's behind the scenes stuff. Let's move us to any free for all hot takes before Sandra tells us about the week ahead.
Selena Wu had Cody's ass beat.
Loved it.
It was so great. I loved it.
It was awesome.
No notes. I just wish that she had killed him. That's my only note. I will say between him, but like Link especially, I just find myself yelling, kill him, and then whoever he's with. Kill him, Brooklyn. Kill him, Britt. Kill him, Selena. And it just really makes me miss Harmony. I just miss having someone who I could reliably yell, kill him, Harmony. And you know what? She probably would. At least try. And I appreciate that. And I miss that. So a little bit yes and a little bit not quite all the way there. Why are they also though doing Brad this way? What are they doing with his character? I don't understand. So we have him. It was like, oh man, this story sucks, but at least we have like Britt and Brad and that relationship. And then they had Brad be the one who leaked the video that got turned into the GIF. I refuse to call it GIF, the GIF. So that just felt like Brad and Britt are like both what, like a little devious. And like we like that about them, or at least I do. But like there's a difference between being devious and then selling out your bestie.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have him thirsting over text. First of all, bad taste. Second of all, like we've already done this with Brad, with him like thirsting over Michael and how creepy that was back in the day, like before, you know, they put him with Lucas and all of that. And it's like, I just feel like we're taking like leaps and bounds backwards with Brad's character and taking him like all the way back to who he was at the beginning and ignoring all this character development that happened with him and Lucas. And even though like what he did with Wiley, I mean, I didn't think it was that bad, but even though that was bad, right? He did it for like the right reasons.
Right.
He didn't do it because he was like, he's a schemer, he's a bad person. He did it because he was desperate and traumatized and he loved Lucas and he was grieving. And then he just kind of got caught up in the situation that he didn't want to be in and he didn't know what else to do. Now that's compelling, even as annoying as that storyline got. This, just having him not only be the sidekick again, both during AAPI Heritage Month and during Pride Month. I will never stop harping on that. But like, why? Why is Brad even here besides to be Britt's sidekick? Now, I am interested to see like what happens between him and Selena and like how that their storyline continues to develop. But right now, as it stands, it is not giving. They better get to the point fast with the Spinelli storyline. Let's next week. Okay. I don't want to still not know what the fuck's going on with him next month. Always appreciate a Lynn Herring and Michael E. Knight sighting. Wish we had been citing them together. Looking forward to more, because obviously there's going to be something that happens between them with the ELQ storyline. So anything that could remotely, I guess it's like you have to bring in Lucy and Martin for me to care about ELQ. Sure. I just have why ... Jordan ... question mark. Why recast Jordan to do this with her? Why have her have these weird heart-to-hearts with Sunny? And then why have her continue to like not do anything for Trina? It just doesn't, and have everyone just say that it's okay. It's just not, it's, again, you're hiring men from text messages and parking lots, but you're not writing for your already established women characters. Okay.
And New Jordan is fine as hell. Give her a pairing, have her out at the pool, let her quit being a cop, whatever it is. Do something.
Speaking of not being a cop,
You know that's on my list.
like, okay, first of all, before that, why are they doing this with Chillin? I say this every week. Why are they doing this? Just let them bang. Just let them bang. This like, again, it's the manufactured drama. It's the, oh, this again. But what I will say, I can be okay with this if it means that Chase isn't a cop anymore. So let Chase, get expelled from PCPD. And then, can they bang already? That's my hope. Oh, and also Link must die. He must. I just can't. Every time he's on screen, it is, why is this man on my screen? And I did enjoy the scene between him and Britt, just because I was like, all right, I like this energy for Britt. Like, fuck this man up. But then she started talking about Jason. Why? You were going somewhere finally. And then this. And then she goes and she helps Cody because she says, do no harm. But here's the thing, Britt. Do no harm to me. To me. And you fixing Cody is harmful to me. Well, that's mostly what I had.
Yeah. I written I write my hot takes based on the day. So Monday I wrote, why is Jordan weighing in on Sunday's parenting woes? Kind of similar to what you wrote, when she could be out there investigating Trina's case. I wrote about Esme and Felicia. I shouted in my notes, all caps, Ava, get divorced, stay divorced. Tuesday, I went on my rant about Spinelli. For Maxie, I wrote, I love that Maxie is making Austin aware that she's more than just, a fashion person. I don't love the couple, but I am a Maxie fan. Maxie looked good in her fitted sweatshirt and jeans. Why does she look good in fitted sweatshirt and jeans and not anything else that they give her? Why? But she looked great. So there's that. Wednesday, I wrote, here's the most interesting part of Wednesday. Trina and Josh get caught in a bar fight. And who the hell is talking to Austin? That's it. I said the boy singing was cute. Still not clear why Spinelli is keeping ownership of the dating site secret, so much so that he's willing to fall for Cody. It's stupid. And then I wrote Friday, Cameron Matheson chest, yay. Cody got beat up, yay. Vanna is on a date, yay. And those were my hot takes. Pretty much it.
Okay. I see you with the yes. Dimple Chad is the dumbest fucking reference I've ever heard in my whole life. First of all, I'm way older than them, and I barely got the reference because, like, in my mind, I only remembered hanging Chad, and that's
Yes.
because of How I Met Your Mother. I definitely didn't remember Dimple Chad, but also if Trina and Josh's like IDs that they were like 20 whatever, why would they know what a Dimple Chad was either? Like,
Yeah, he's thinking it in terms of his age.
right,
Know
like, it
what
was
that
just
is,
so
not
bizarre.
teenagers, not 20-year-olds.
And it just like spoke to how old the writers must have been. Because if even we were like, Dimple Chad, what the
Yeah.
fuck is that?
And we are middle-aged.
Like, I mean, I wasn't old enough to vote in that election, but I certainly remember it.
I did not get the reference. I had to look it up. I would have said the same things that Joss and Trina said. I would have been like, I don't know, sounds like a boy band.
I mean, it's like that is a worse reference than when people were like freaking out about dance card. I know what the fuck a dance card is. I do not know what a dimple chat is.
Yes.
Just ugh. I put Chase is in a cop. Let's fucking go. That was just like all these O's. Love it. So happy about it. Was like, it was also like, damn, Chase, if you can't control your emotions, maybe you shouldn't be a cop. Turns out. Let that simmer for a second. I wrote Crew. I liked it. And that's it. Oh no, what I said was I really like having a ship that I don't feel compelled to defend. If people don't like it, cool. But I love it. I've been wanting a Laura Wright Cameron Matheson pairing for a very long time. And so I'm enjoying it so far. I think their chemistry is cute. Adore it. Flip side, do not think that about Sona. And we had a spaces, and I know this is shocking to you. What I was like saying about them was that I'm not a person who doesn't think they have chemistry, but I think they have like, I don't know, people say like they've been married for a long time chemistry, which doesn't match the story that's trying to be told. So the story that's trying to be told is like that their attraction and their like was so fire they couldn't stay away. That's like the Niz affair. That's actually like Courtney and Nicholas, who like I fucking hated it, but I was like, I get it. There is nothing about the chemistry between Sonny and Nina that makes me think that Sonny would blow up his life.
That Sonny would what?
Like blow up his life.
Oh.
Like it, I mean, Sonny's a mess and he is known to blow up his life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just don't see that. So I think that that's part of the problem for me. The other thing, they need to just like allow Nina to be like whatever they're trying to make her be. Because when they had her talking with Sonny about Michael, first of all, she was fighting for whatever right she thought she had. And they had just done a whole fucking feature on her life. Of course she was gonna go to the gutter. Oh, which wasn't even that. Like, of course Scott was gonna question Michael on this shit. It was actually silly for anybody to believe that he wouldn't. It's Scott. And y'all have made her look like a monster. Like, why wouldn't she turn around and make y'all look like monsters too? And so the idea that she was like so sorry and so apologetic and oh my God, I had no idea. It was a bad look. So Scott tricked you before and put Sonny on the stand, but you weren't completely abreast of everything he was gonna do this time around. That doesn't even make sense. And like, just say, look, I had to go through for the fucking jugular, and it didn't work. And like, you can maybe say that you were sorry that it happened, or in retrospect, it wasn't worth it. But don't say you didn't know. Like, it's just like really bad writing for this character. I'm not really clear what they're trying to do with Sona. For somebody to come to her and be like, "Well, my family threw me away. You want to go on a date? Is this romance?" I mean, I loved it. I laughed.
I just remembered the one time I thought about GH while I was on vacation was I thought about Sona. And let me set this up for you. So I'm
Please.
here, I'm laying by the pool. And the pool is it's like full of children. So that's why I'm not in it. I'm waiting for Adult Swim before I get back in. But I look over and the only people there that aren't like children or like parents wrangling their children are this older couple. And the man is so sunburned. He's got a very intense farmer's tan. Like, he's got the t-shirt neckline. He's just like red, white. And then he's with this woman who also looks like she's been out wine tasting all day. And I don't know if they were there together or if they just met, but they were together in that pool and they had clearly been wine tasting earlier in the day. They were like all over each other, like up against the back of the pool. No care to them at all that there are children all around them playing Marco Polo. They are just in their own world. And I thought, remind me of Sona. Just like too drunk, past middle age, far past middle age, people who are sunburned, making out in the pool while children are screaming around them. Like making out in the pool, like. So.
I don't even know what to say. I love that they didn't make Dante like talk to her. That was fantastic. And it was just like a reminder of everything that's wrong with Sona. It was like, oh, we can't be here. Let's go to this place where we can create our own fantasy world and isolate ourselves away from reality. And so Sonny should actually be mad that Nina did this. Like, that's the feedback that they're not taking. It's not that he shouldn't still want to be with her. I mean, I don't think he should, but like, it's not just that. It's that you should be mad. And so you should be running away and not trying to recreate that in your relationship, but trying to forget that happened in your relationship. And they keep leaning into something that was so unpopular to try to continue to push this couple. And it's really fucked up. I mean, when we did the spaces, and every time I talk about Sona, like outside of the podcast, if like we do a space or something, I always like preface it being like, I don't have any problem with the actress, because when you see like stuff get posted about them, it's very nasty towards Cynthia. Never nasty towards Mo. Never. like there's a little bit of like, if he wanted the story, he should have just like left or whatever. But it's nothing about his looks. It's nothing about like his acting. It's all people coming after Cynthia in a very personal way, and I think that's really fucked up. And so I do continue to drag Sona because I hate them that much as a couple, and I hate Nina that much as a character. But I do preface it with like, my problem is not with Cynthia, because I think that that's just comes to work and does her job. You know what I mean? Like, to have people turn off comments when they fucking like do something, or have to have like official fan sites be like, hey, please do not use vomit emojis in our like comments, is really, really trash. And is like also being done because nobody took the feedback that people offered them in the beginning about why this wasn't working. And like, I'm not even saying break this couple up, I don't care about that, but like a Milo, for example, is like super boring, but they didn't get this kind of hate. So anyway, that's my last hot take. Sona sucks.
We'll always have sunburned wine tasting.
Oh Lord. Let's move us into what we can expect in the week ahead.
I like how you didn't say what we have to look forward to. Great frame up, because there are things to look forward to. There are a few things.
Okay.
So let's start with what we don't have to look forward to. Starting Wednesday, there's just going to be a lot of Wiley's adults. So I just want you to manage your expectations around this week.
Why?
But it is what is happening for most of the second half of the week. So on Wednesday, with Wiley's Adults and ELQ, the ELQ shareholders meeting takes place. Carly tells Olivia about her latest business move. On Thursday, Olivia faces off with Nina and Sasha, and things take a turn when Willow arrives. Sunny tells Brando and Dex, the original Dex, they have to get along. Who cares? Drew warns Valentine, and Carly celebrates with Jocelyn and Bobby, which is like the only one of these spoilers I care a bit about. And then on Friday, an unexpected event surprises those at the Metro Court pool and leads to a revelation. I guess this could be about a different storyline. I'm just assuming that a lot of the action for this other storyline is happening at the Metro Court, but I could be totally wrong. Leah overhears Michael talking about his next move regarding Sunny.
Rookie
have
mistake.
Leo cropping. I'd rather see Leo with the horse at this point. Nina and Albrecht discuss their current love lives. So cool.
They discuss never having to have a consequence for anything that they've ever done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That is the family way. Let's see. Then we got a little bit of chill-in next week. So on Wednesday, Chase shares his worry about his future with the PCPD with Brooklyn. And then on Thursday, he reveals the news to Brooklyn. So it looks like I'm praying to the defund deities. Let me fully step into my love for Chase, because there is something that holds me back, and we all know what it is. We're gonna have very little of the sex tape storyline this week. So really we just have Monday. Esme seeks Kevin's insight while Spencer enlists Victor's help. Portia, Curtis, and Taggart express their concerns for Trina. This is not sex tape related, but we actually just don't see any of, we see none of the kids in the spoilers. And then also I want to say we don't see any of the Black folks again until Friday with TJ supports Epiphany in her studies for the MCAT.
Happy
So,
Juneteenth.
there you go. We also have, good old the Truck Nuts love story packed in the middle. On Wednesday, Brad brings Britt a peace offering, but he isn't totally honest with her. Great. Dante asks Tex Dex what happened to him before talks turned to the past. And I really hope that they just, I wish they had the rights to some Salute Your Shorts footage from, that Nickelodeon show. We run, we jump, we swim and play, we row and go on trips, but the things that last forever are our dear friendships.
You want to do a slide by YouTube too?
See, I just spoke it. I didn't sing it because I don't want us to, get in trouble. It's very important to me to follow the rules. And then we're gonna have some Vanna. So we have the continuation of Vanna's date on Monday. Valentine makes an admission to Anna on their date. I wonder what it could be. And then we'll see them again on Friday. Seeing Vanna twice in 1 week. Anna questions Valentine's relationship with Victor, which also brings us into the vets. So we have on Monday, Mac is upset with Felicia when he finds out what she did, which I'm assuming was talking to Ryan. And then Martin and Laura discuss who targeted them. So Cyrus got brought up, a few times recently. Could we perhaps be seeing a return? Why, yes, I think we shall, because on Tuesday, is GH's 15,000th episode. And it's going to be focusing on Laura. So the town of Port Charles comes together when an unknown political force takes aim at beloved Mayor Laura Collins. So that's what I'm most looking forward to this week. I'm very excited about a Laura-centric episode. I'm very excited for a Jeff Kober sighting, whether it's long or short, and just excited to see more use of the vets. I am obviously very unenthusiastic about the rest of the week. But Tuesday, looking forward to it. And also obviously Vanna.
Yeah. I saw that the Laura-centric episode is going to be like kind of standalone. And so like it'll resolve itself at the end of the episode. Like it won't be like carried over to other plots, really. So that's exciting. And then I don't know if they did it on purpose. I think they might have did it on accident. GH was like trying to, like they kept posting it was supposed to be like the sneak peek of Esme talking to Kevin, but instead they kept posting Laura talking to Kevin, so it must be from that episode. They did it twice and they took it down both times. Laura talking to Kevin, and then her walking into a room, and in the room it's like Sam, I saw Carly, Anna, like a bunch of folks in the room with her, maybe like trying to save her career or something like that. So that's exciting. And I don't know if we're going to be preempted at all next week. It's possible.
In this wild world, it's always possible.
Yeah. I wish they were doing the January 6th stuff in prime time, because I don't watch anything in prime time. But also, people should see it, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, we might, I think it was like a day or two that might be preempted that we should look out for.
Which probably means we're not going to see Vanna on Friday.
Probably.
If we're preempted, I hope it's on Wednesday prime time, because then I can watch Star Wars instead and Miss Marvel, which were awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
and it's the finale of Obi-Wan.
When
next
you-
week.
I'm one episode behind, so
Better hurry up and catch up.
I know I haven't muted. But I'm sure I'll get spoiled. Yeah. So a couple of announcements, or maybe just one. Nicholas Chavez's 1 year anniversary on the show is the 1st of July. So our pin tweet, I'll keep it our pin tweet, is a kudo board. So if folks want to like, send him like well wishes for his 1st anniversary, like please sign that and forward it. It's one that has like an unlimited amount of kudos that people can leave. I am moderating it. I've had to delete a couple of it because some of y'all thirsty, and we're not letting some of that go through. Someone left their phone number. I deleted that. Please don't leave your phone number for Nicholas Chavez on a kudo board. Slide in his DMs with that. Like, I don't want to facilitate anything like any of your harassment, whatever. And also if like there's just negative comments, I want to delete them. And it's up to my discretion, but I have very good discretion. So make sure you sign on to the kudo board. And there are gonna be other things that come up. I know that for Sorry, who we follow, like is doing a tweet fest for Sprina. Yeah, there'll be different ways to like celebrate and support Nicholas in his 1 year. Yeah.
Oh, and the Emmys are on Friday, right?
They are. So we'll be watching them in Discord. If you want to do that with us, like hit up us or Susie. But yeah, we'll be watching them in Discord, sharing on our folks.
Yeah. Looking forward to that GH younger performer win.
Yeah.
I might actually have to work that night, so I will record it and I will avoid Twitter so I can watch
Yeah.
it on Saturday.
It will definitely be live tweeted, so you should avoid Twitter.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else before we go?
So what I'm hearing is people should not try to shoot their shot with Nicholas Chavez on the kudos board.
Not on the kudo board. I can't tell you what to do in his DMs. Can't tell you what to do on your timeline. I don't even, maybe you could shoot your shot on the kudo board. Just don't leave your phone number.
It should be tasteful.
Just be tasteful.
But you know what? Sometimes
Tasteful
shooting a shot isn't.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe you shouldn't shoot your shot because I've done tastefully shot my shot before, just not on the kudo board.
No, it's not. That's inherently not tasteful.
Taking notes right now in case I ever want to do that. Which I don't ever foresee myself ever wanting to do that, but
You never know.
hey, Dominic Zempora, I know you're married, but
It's a kudo board, but it's just Tonya pushing Tante.
I mean, who knows? Oh, happy Father's Day to friend of the show, Javier. I don't know any other dads who listen to the show, but I know him. Shout out to you. And yeah, that's it for us this week. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.